Good morning. Marisol Aguilar with CRLA on behalf of petitioners Planada en Acción and Fermi Community and Friends. So a lot of the things that we're talking about here, the anonymity of the data, the target loading, and all of that, that is important to the people that I represent, to my clients. But what is most important to them is being able to have clean, safe water for themselves and their families. And so I'm going to go over a couple of changes in the order, some that are positive, some that stayed the same, and some changes that created more issues than we would like to see. So the first one is the templates. There's new language that requires there to be a template, that it be translated into the appropriate languages, and that it include not limited literacy elements as well. So that's a good change. It's a positive change. We're happy to see that. It's going to allow people who receive it to really have notice of what is in their water and how to take protective steps. Some of the things that are still unchanged and continue to be an issue is the testing of the drinking water wells. That still won't begin until January 2019, and that's contingent on there not being a legislative fix. So again, that delays testing. And if somebody tests in December of 2019, that's 2 years, almost 2 years from today, where testing won't be started. And then if there is a legislative fix, as mentioned previously, legislation takes a long time. We all know that. It takes a long time for something to pass, to actually be implemented, to actually start the testing. So we're looking at adding more years where people are not going to know what's in their water. They're not going to know if their water is safe to drink. The risk of nitrogen contamination is especially pronounced for women who are pregnant and for infants. Women are pregnant for 9 months. That's the regular course of pregnancy. 9 months is less than a year. And we're waiting years for them to figure out, to have notice of whether their water is contaminated or not. How are they going to protect themselves and their children? Apart from that, there's only an expectation that the Central Valley Water Board, for example, will send out a notice once to the members, indicating their responsibilities to test the drinking water well. An expectation, it does not seem like something that is enforced. It doesn't seem like there are any enforcement mechanisms behind that. What will happen if a member decides not to test? What will happen if he doesn't get the notice that's sent once, that we expect is sent once at least? There's also only an encouraging them to sample for other contaminants. The contaminants are not just nitrates. There are other contaminants that are directly a result of agricultural and irrigation, and those should be tested for as well. For replacement water, there's still there's only an expectation that discharges will provide replacement water. There's no mention that there is a legal requirement to provide safe water to your tenants or to whoever is on your land. It's a legal requirement. It's something that should be mentioned, and growers should be made aware that that is a requirement that they are legally responsible for. If they are going to be providing a place for people to live, it has to be habitable for human occupancy. Those are the actual words, human occupancy. Having water that is contaminated, that causes children, especially infants, to suffer from grave consequences, means it is not habitable for human occupancy. Further, there's a little provision there that says that once there is sufficient replacement water that is being supplied, then that drinking water well no longer has to be tested. That raises a lot of issues, and it's one of the changes that just really makes us comfortable because of everything that we see on a day-to-day basis. CRLA works on a day-to-day with farm workers. We understand their needs, we understand the fear, we understand the power dynamics that they have. Who is going to say how much is sufficient water? Who are they going to turn to when their water is delivered a week late and they go a week without water? Who is going to say what's going to happen who are they going to complain to? Who's going to represent them Are we really expecting the farm workers to go up against the growers to demand their replacement water? Not to mention it creates a false sense of security. If you are no longer testing the well that is contaminated because it is alleged that there's sufficient replacement water, they're not getting notices that their well is contaminated. You can imagine if I'm not getting a notice that there's anything in my water, I'm going to assume that it's okay. These are some of the changes and some of the things that remain that are problematic, and I'll have to remind you that the purpose of this, that we have to remember that this is affecting actual people today and tomorrow. Moving this forward for years to come or years later is not acceptable, because these are real consequences for people right now.